More than any other stroke, breaststroke creates a lot of drag. And if swimmers want to go fast, they have to learn to minimize the amount of drag they create. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. In this video, we're going to take a look at the skill of horizontal alignment in breaststroke, because the more horizontally aligned swimmers can be as they move through the water, the faster they're going to swim. And unfortunately, because of the arm recoveries, because of the breath, and because of the leg recoveries, it can be really difficult to maintain and establish great horizontal alignment through the water. One of the key skills that elite breaststrokers consistently demonstrate is the ability to maintain horizontal alignment as much as possible throughout the entire stroke. They do a really good job of making sure their hips stay up at the surface of the water throughout the stroke, and in every stroke, they always establish complete horizontal alignment regardless of how fast they're swimming and how fast they're moving their arms and legs. Let's check it out. Because it happens a little bit slower over 200-meter races, we're going to take a look at 200-meter swimmers first, and then we'll take a look at 100-meter swimmers. So if you see here, swimmers here, what they're going to do is they're going to achieve a position where they're completely horizontal in the water. You can see the end of the stroke here, the swimmer on the top is literally completely straight from toes to feet. And so that's going to minimize the amount of drag that he creates as he moves through the water. And then as you watch his hip position here, as he takes his pull, his hip position, even though his head and his shoulders are coming up out of the water, it's not dropping at all. And if anything, it's actually rising up. And so what can tend to happen is that when swimmers come up to breathe, they're going to drop their hips down, and that's going to destroy their horizontal alignment. Now we'll watch the swimmer on the left, and you can see here his hips are staying up at the surface as he breathes. And as he returns back down, he's going to establish a really aligned position where his head's down, arms are straight ahead, legs are straight back, and he's in really good alignment. And as he takes his pull here, hips stay up at the surface, and again, they may even rise up at the surface a little bit. So everything stays in a really good alignment, and then after each stroke, they get back to an excellent alignment so that they can minimize the amount of drag that they create. If swimmers don't come back into this horizontal streamlined posture here, what's going to happen is they tend to get higher and higher and higher, and that's going to make them go slower and slower and slower. They're going to get more and more tired, and that's a vicious cycle that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So relatively simple skills, not always particularly easy to do, but keeping the hips up at the surface throughout the breath, and then also making sure that each stroke has a point of complete horizontal alignment. So we'll take a look at another swimmer here, and you can see the hips right at the same place the entire time. They never drop, and she does a really good job of getting back into alignment at the end of each stroke. So maintaining as much horizontal alignment as possible throughout the stroke. There's going to be some disruption in order to pull, in order to kick, but that disruption is minimized by keeping the hips up at the surface and then making sure that horizontal alignment is completely reestablished after each stroke. So while better streamlining and better alignment tends to be thought of as associated with 200-meter swimming, as we'll see here, that's not necessarily the case, and 100-meter swimmers do the same thing even when they're swimming at world record speeds. So you can see here during the pull, the hips stay up, there's no drop in the hip, and then the swimmer is going to get back into a completely aligned position. He's horizontal in the water, his head is down, his hips are up, and then his legs are up and his arms are outstretched. So even though he's swimming at a really high rate and a really high speed, he's still able to keep the hips up when he pulls, and he's able to get back into an aligned position in between each stroke. So even at really high speeds, he's taking the time and the effort to make sure that he maintains as much horizontal alignment throughout the stroke as possible. One of the mistakes that many swimmers make when they try to swim fast breaststroke is they just go to really high tempo and they never get back into alignment every time. And what happens? More and more drag, more and more fatigue, which means more and more drag, which means slower and slower swimming. So swimmers have to make sure that they maintain their horizontal alignment, or they're going to pay the price, and they're going to pay the price really quickly and really severely. So we'll take a look at another swimmer here, and as you can see, as she pulls, the hips stay up at the surface, and she does a really good job of getting back into alignment throughout each stroke. And so she's horizontal in the water here. She's not swimming with the head up and the hips down. She's getting really great alignment, and she's doing that, again, at really high speeds, and she's making sure that she establishes great alignment with each stroke. And even though she's going to start her stroke pretty early, she's still in great alignment, at least for a split second, before she comes back out of it. And because of that, she's going to get back in line. She's going to minimize the drag. She's going to give herself a little bit of break, and she's going to prevent herself from getting worse and worse and worse as she goes through the swim and as she begins to get fatigued. So alignment in breaststroke is ultimately simple. Swimmers need to maintain a great horizontally aligned position as they take the pull and as they take the breath. And just as importantly, they need to make sure that they always achieve a horizontal position, at least at some point in the stroke. Doing so is going to greatly reduce the amount of drag that they create, and it's going to allow them to create a lot more speed with a lot less effort. Hope that was helpful. As always, keep it simple.